We have a niche gamer here talking about Steam updates rules to comply with payment processor censorship. Steam, the largest PC gaming platform, has recently updated their rules for developers to prohibit content that may run afoul of the nebulous standards of payment processors. Payment processors have had way too much power for way too long in regards to this. A payment processor should have zero fucking say in what I'm able to buy as a consumer. If someone makes a product and I as a consumer want to pay them money for that product, I should be able to without a payment processor stepping in and saying, no, we don't want to process payments for this. That's a little fucking crazy. According to Automation, the new rules remain vague and directly mention how this restriction is mandated by payment processors such as card networks and banks, saying that developers should not submit content that may violate the rules and standards set forth by Steam's payment processors and related card networks and banks or internet network providers, in particular, certain kinds of adult-only content. Which, this is obviously referring to porn, but it is so vague that it can most likely be applied to more than just that. And even if you are someone who wishes to see porn games banned, they are going to come for things that you enjoy eventually. Just because you personally dislike something doesn't mean it should be eradicated from the face of the earth. And I don't think eradicating it from the face of the earth in the case of this would actually help anything whatsoever. You heard about this? It's terrible that people are celebrating the censorship. It's terrible and it's very weird. Payment processors have been doing this for many years. They have. They did this recently even with some manga websites, if my memory serves correctly. I mean, I've talked about in the past how people like Owen Wilson, I think it was. Not Owen Wilson. Owen Wilson's the actor. Owen Benjamin, there we go. Took me a second. Owen Benjamin has gotten debanked. Kirsche has gotten debanked. I've talked about people who are just not allowed to participate in economy because payment processors decided you're not a human being anymore and we're just going to cockblock you anytime you try to use a payment processor. They're targeting Japan heavily for a while now. It's because Japan largely did not participate in globalization. They exported a lot, but they weren't importing culture from other places as often as we are here in the US. And that's a problem for these people. In recent months, payment processors such as Visa and MasterCard have been throwing their weight around to try and effectively ban content they find disagreeable. Sites in both Japan and the West have been hit with these restrictions. Victims include Patreon, Fansly, and Japanese retailers such as DL Site. After Fansly effectively banned certain VTubers and content creators, many of them moved to Rplay. I didn't even know that Fansly was having this issue. Aren't there like tons of fucking English VTubers who are sponsored by Fansly? Fansly came to me and offered me a sponsorship, but I was like, no thank you. No thank you, I don't do that kind of content. Japan has been particularly targeted by these efforts. Earlier this year, payment processors allegedly withheld funds from developers who sold their game on Steam based solely on their game's objectionable content. What do you mean we could have had ASMR? As a result of being targeted, Japanese retailers and lawmakers are becoming the largest obstacle to payment processor censorship, with free speech activist Councilman Yamada Taro and former Prime Minister Fumio Kishida calling out payment processors as the problem, and they are correct. Furthermore, multiple adult games were removed from Steam in a short period, likely coinciding with the new rules update. It's unclear what chilling effect these rules will have on Steam's burgeoning adult games market. And I just don't think that's okay to do. I don't think the payment processors should have that much power, and I don't think they should be bending the knee to some like literal fucking who feminist group, man. Like, it's actually kind of crazy. This says, collective shout feminist group open letter to payment processors. They've admitted responsibility for censorship with payment processors for Steam and potentially other platforms. Wow, that's crazy. Open letter to payment processors profiting from rape, incest, and child abuse games on Steam. I don't know what kind of child abuse games exist on Steam. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about there. Mr. Alex Chris, Chief Executive Officer and President of PayPal, Michael Maybach, Executive Officer MasterCard, Ryan McInerney, Chief Executive Officer Visa, Mr. Bruce Lothers, Chief Executive Officer PaySafe Limited, Michael J. Shepard, Director, Interim CEO and President of Discover, Takeyoshi Fute, President, CEO and Chairman of the Japan Credit Bureau. Your corporations are facilitating and profiting from rape, incest, and child sexual abuse game sales. We are undersigned the writing to request that you cease processing payments on gaming platforms which host rape, incest, and child sexual abuse themed games. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about with this once again. Once again, man. They're specifically referring to the game No Mercy, which was a smut game about struggle snuggles with family. That's a little awkward. Here we go. Here we go. In April, we exposed the sale of rape simulation game No Mercy on both Steam and itch.io gaming platforms. In the game, players assume the persona of a man who rapes his female family members, including his mother and his aunt, as punishment for his mother's infidelity. What a fucking wild story! What the fuck? What the what? What is even the logic behind that? It was marketed as follows: in this game, you'll either become every woman's worst nightmare, or rather, the best dick they'll ever have. Your goal is simple: leave no pussy excuse me, you could have said unfucked, since that's the only thing they all want. Never take no for an answer. Fuck your mom, fuck your auntie, and even fuck your friend's mom. Why not? Take what's yours and show no mercy. I would have played this on Side Scrollers Plus as just out of morbid fucking curiosity. Like, what the fuck? That sounds an absurd degree. That sounds legitimately like unhinged levels of absurdity. The Karens and pissed off liberals are the best advertising. Jesus fucking Christ. The game was geo-blocked in Australia following Collective Shout's complaint to the Australian Classification Board. Following our global viral campaign, including a change.org petition signed by over 70,000 concerned individuals and attracting international media attention, the game was taken down in Canada and the UK and pulled from Steam by the developer. However, we have since discovered hundreds of other games featuring rape, incest, and child sexual abuse on both Steam and itch.io. Wait, hold on a minute. They like combine the rape, incest, and child sexual abuse themed games. And I was expecting that to all exist in No Mercy, but I don't want to say only, because that makes it seem like I'm downplaying it, right? But like, it's incest and that's fucking gross, but he is fucking adults in this game. 70,000 is a globally viral movement. How many did the Stop Killing Games petition need? And yet these feminists were able to get something done with only 70,000? Hold on, wait a minute. Our research has shown many of these games would breach Australian classification laws. Most of the content found within the games, including the graphics and the developers' descriptions, are too distressing for us to make public. Do you think these feminists know about Queensnake? Queensnake being a hardcore lesbian pornography website where women fill their vaginas with like thumbtacks and burn each other on candles and stuff their holes with stinging nettles? Do you think that real pornography would be a step too far, or is that like women empowerment because it's lesbian porn? I'm not really sure where these feminists draw the line anymore, chat. They absolutely know. A Collective Shout team member has conducted extensive research using a Steam account set up for this purpose. She has documented content including violent sexual torture of women and children, including incest-related abuse involving family members. I don't trust this because they're feminist campaigning, but if there are actually games on Steam where you can fuck children, like, yeah, those should be removed. I don't think any sort of freedom of speech would protect that kind of thing. But I'm wondering if they're just saying children and it's not actually children. And I hate that I have to question this in current year, but like, as an anime person, I've been called a child way too many times to just take this at face value. These games endorsing men's sexualized abuse and torture of women and girls fly in the face of efforts to address violence against women. We do not see how facilitating payment transactions and deriving financial benefit from these violent and unethical games is consistent with your corporate values and mission statements. It's always threats, man. We request that you demonstrate corporate social responsibility and immediately cease processing payments on Steam and itch.io and any other platforms hosting similar games. We await your response. Yours sincerely. And then it's got all their names: Melinda Tankard Rice, Movement Director; Haley McNamara, Senior Vice President; Michael Salter, Professor and Director of the Childlight East Asia and Pacific Hub. Oh, it really is Australian behavior. These are all people from Australia and the UK. That's crazy. Said, Collective Shout has labeled me as a man because they couldn't imagine a woman actually defying them. Collective Shout has labeled me a man because I am a sex trader. Oh my god. And Collective Shout won't answer my question because they assume I am a man. Naturally, they also blocked me. I'm tired of feminist groups getting to push companies around, weaponizing language and law, and focusing on fiction instead of promoting the family unit and changing the culture of how parents use the internet. They are back on the grind of video game bad, but instead of violence, it's now sex. They write a whole lot of drivel to say we can't separate fiction and reality, but we all know they don't actually care about that. Not a peep about payment processors servicing Hollywood full of rape and misogyny. Not a peep about them servicing Diddy's website. They really think 1,000 email demands them an audience and to be taken seriously. But when thousands more push back against them, they want to brush it off. Fuck off. This is because they see themselves as moral arbiters on the right side of history. Their 1,000 emails are them pushing revolution to correct the bad in society. And your 1,000 emails arguing against them are actually evil, misogynist Nazi people doing bad things to try and keep the status quo and prevent people from reaching up out of poverty or some shit. Collective Shout said, we're calling on payment processors to stop profiting from rape, sexual torture, incest, and child abuse-themed games. So naturally, misogynistic gamers have doubled down in defense of their rape games. We've responded to their claims here. When men who claim this rape simulation game, along with other misogynistic content they consume, has no bearing on real-world behaviors, send us sexist abuse and threats, we can't help but notice the irony. I have played a good amount of Grand Theft Auto Vice City in my youth. I had sex with many hookers, and I killed them afterwards to take my money back. I have not killed a single hooker in real life. Make sure you sit down with Steam's marketing department and scare the hell out of them with what will happen if they don't give you what you want. Yeah. And again, this makes another argument for instead of just saying, I just want to grill, you know these people will never leave you alone. You know these screeching banshees will always try and come after something you care about. Make your voice heard even before they try to ruin something that you like. Let developers know about the games that you enjoy playing. Right? It might be a little weird if you're giving comments on porn games. I have a lot of weird porn games thanks to Boggy gifting them to me during stream often. Thank you, Boggy. This one's like, you're a gross little pro-censorship piggy. Tell me, how does this help the women being raped in the UK by men who don't play games? Savvy, you should know better. You can't quote real-world happenings to these people. They don't care about things happening in the real world. You have to suppress the statistics. If you talk about the rape statistics, you might make more racist, and that's bad. This Melinda Tankard Riced person, she's part of the feminist group. I've never seen a dried pussy like this, not even in the desert. And she said, doubt you and your 5 friends have seen any dried or otherwise, apart from your self-made porny anime versions, of course. Yeah, she looks like a feminist. God damn, you could land an airplane on that 5-head, man. Why you gotta be angry at everybody else, you know? What the heck? Savvy said, she's actually trying to be edgy, all while not denying being dried up. Anyway, these loser retards labeled me a man because they can't imagine a woman who can actually distinguish fiction and reality, who's willing to defend fictional topics so people can be free to tell stories. Even if it's subject matter I don't like, or maybe I do. Who knows? And really, who cares? It's fiction. True. Going after anime, all anime, instead of doing something productive to create a culture that actually promotes a single income family unit that raises their kid instead of the internet, shows us how unserious they are and how it's all about the funding. I mean, to be fair, these are feminists. If anything, they want to continue to destroy the nuclear family than do anything that would promote it, right? You know, after all, a woman raising her own children isn't freeing and important to a society. It's actually just like locking that woman up and making her a prisoner. That's like patriarchy in action. How dare you raise your own kids instead of giving them over to the state? Says the woman who doesn't have children, most likely. And they just want all women to be as miserable as them. Pretty fucking much. Wah, we have 1,000 emails, they have hundreds of thousands and millions of customers, but wah, listen to me, all while ignoring the real damage Hollywood causes to people. Once again, this is why it's very, very important to stand up for yourself and stand up for the things that you might not even like in the order of free speech, right? You might not like porn, but I think anyone sane can say that banning porn stuff leads to a slippery slope. The lore deepens. I don't write my own Twitter account. Maybe it's the husband, the one someone said I don't have. I didn't know Savvy was a proud gay man. I don't know how else to say this, but most people have range. If you want to waste your time hate watching, go for it. But you clearly don't watch my streams and never have seen my Archcast appearance. I didn't even know she's been on Archcast. My tweets vary in tone, but you only focus on the ones that don't align with your views so you can get worked up. These people have never seen a woman outside of the performative, perpetually angry activist, so they forgot personalities exist. And imagine my shock when it's like an ex-synthetic man, like moderator, who's who she's replying to here. Holy shit. I'm like, there's so many people who like got culled from that fan base who are just crazy. Absolutely crazy. New video, Steam could die. Let's see. Savvy said, hey, Visa and MasterCard, why is it a trend for all these Japanese shops and not safe for work sites to have to suspend using Visa and MasterCard if they don't bend the knee? You claimed recently it wasn't you doing it, so why are you letting, potentially, a third party stop business for you? No one believes you when you say you aren't the ones putting out the censorship requests. Visa and MasterCard, however, will happily service the American entertainment industry full of real-life predators and let you buy all the subscriptions full of the exact content they demand get censored in Japan. You might be thinking, Savvy, why don't they just use their own payment processors? Why can't I buy what I want and import it? This is about international business too. And this was my exact reasoning back when I was younger, why I imported a PS2 and why the like progressive brain rot people couldn't understand why I said I wanted to import games unmolested by the ESRB. This had nothing to do with woke. This had nothing to do with, like, them shoehorning in DEI bullshit into their video games. The ESRB would censor normal stuff, like sexy shower scenes, like partially nude female models in the game, like blood, like violence, like gore. The ESRB would say, and if you want to get a T for teen, if you don't want your game to languish on the shelves, if you want your game to actually sell, it needs to be censored in order to fit within what we perceive to be okay for our market. And so I would just import the games from Japan and play them completely uncensored. I would get to see Shion's tits in the shower. I would get to see her parents covered in blood in a scene where they get murdered by Realians. The scene where they get murdered in English doesn't make any fucking sense because there's no fucking blood. It looks fucking stupid. In the third game, her brother gets fucking javelined through the chest and there's zero blood. He even throws up blood from being javelined through the chest. And there's no blood in the English version. It looks stupid. You might be thinking the payment processors are safe. No, Sony payment processor, Japan's latest payment processor, is majority owned by Blackstone, an American company. Some Japanese banks are also being influenced by American regulation and rules. At Elon Musk, why are payment processors hindering creatives, shuttering shops, and demanding censorship? We could really use some eyes on the situation because it is getting worse. And this was from November of last year. And she quote retweeted it saying, bringing this back as a reminder for the businesses being bullied by dried up cat ladies via payment processors. There is zero reason to be terrified of these cat ladies, of which they only got 70,000 signatures, probably through using weasel words that made some people sign it who otherwise probably wouldn't have. And she had another tweet here saying, they're just lying now. The account goes on to say that women can't let men just be happy, so Collective Shout is just retweeting whatever sounds good to them with no further thought. This is what they think. It isn't about protecting kids, this is about getting back at men out of some fanfiction grudge. Thank you, Mel Tankard Rice, for admitting none of it is actually about children. It only took 24 hours for your meltdown to reveal the truth. On top of that, you dumbasses labeled me a man because you can't imagine a woman pushing back. But most women do push back. Go open the fictional fantasy novels at bookstores penned by women. Gaze upon their raunchy shenanigans far more deviant than any rape and incest game could dream of. Even I, an open-minded person, have had to close books and never revisit them. But unlike you, I don't need the government to ban them. True. If I don't like something, I just say, wow, that's kind of gross. Maybe I laugh at it with chat, and then I move on. Exhibit A, these women don't understand that a lot of gamers have a grudge against women and will do some vile shit to get back at them. No, I think it's people who believe the things that Melinda believe who have a grudge against gamers for not bending the knee. My source is that I made it the fuck up. True. True, that's crazy. A lot of gamers have a grudge against women. Sure, maybe like the, 3% of unironic incels? But they don't have to be a gamer to be an incel. No, because the market for video games of this theme is men. Women cannot tolerate a man being happy. Proof of the follow-up. Mel, gonna retweet this one too. Also for the lulz, collective shout saying Exhibit A. And then the Gaznamaka person saying, I don't play video games, so I'm not an exhibit. Then why did you even post that? Common woman L, what the fuck? What the fuck? Imagine being this much of a tourist. That's like that one guy, oh god, I can't even remember the Twitter account. During like all the fucking meltdown of people attacking me, there was one guy that was like, this is why we need to guard VTubing from these kinds of far-right ideologues like this anime fox woman. And some Twitter account was like, hey guy, who's your Oshi? And he was like, what's an Oshi? I'm like, come the fuck on. Come the fuck on. How can you be this big of a tourist? Anal logo enthusiast Mel Tankard Rice retweets, consent is not enough. Total control and conformity is what they're after. Believe them when they say this. When a person tells you who they are, believe them. Remember, they are throwing a coordinated shit fit right now, calling all of anime childlike, so they can call it child exploitation. Big scary word for governments and in turn payment processors and websites. That's crazy. We need one of those like tug of war things where it shows like Kiwi farms and feminists fighting hand in hand, you know, tugging on the same rope. That's crazy. Old enemies have become friends in the same war. They have already been mailing payment processors over games, and fiction stories have existed long before. Not all pretty and society is fine. There's no mass outbreak of beating and raping women aside from, you know, places importing third world illegals. But naturally, they don't care about that. Savvy, you're not supposed to talk about the statistics! She's not suicidal. I love her. They also don't care about Hollywood or OnlyFans. The irony is they still use words like sexual freedom, but their demand of control means if you want to roleplay some BDSM, that's a no-no because they think BDSM is rape and beating women. And I think the craziest thing is men who have grown up in like this feminized America, at least in my experience in trying to date a straight man, a lot of men have internalized the fact that any kind of force used on a woman is abuse and makes them a bad man. Like, men are just terrified to exert any kind of control over a woman, especially in a sexual manner. And it's just like, telling your woman, no, you cannot fuck other men is not controlling. That's just normal. Putting your full body weight on your woman while you're sleeping doesn't mean you are abusing her. That's just normal and you're relaxed because you're falling asleep. Imagine monogamy, imagine. And it's just like, this isn't even like asking to be tied up. This isn't asking to be choked. This isn't asking to like be whipped, right? Like these aren't like crazy extreme asks. And it's just like, what has happened to like absolutely terrify men to the point where they feel like they can no longer act like men. They can no longer be the leaders that they need to be because so many women have thrown shit fits about it. And this is the picture that Savvy included here is from someone named Professor Michael Flood, and the Melinda Tankard person retweeted it. He said, why consent is not enough in a sexual context where hurting women is sexy, consent is inadequate for sexual freedom and equality. Our lives are shaped by social sexual norms that coercing women is sexy. Women are commodities to be used by men. Hurting women is sexy. This is like people who like, I don't even know where they get this like normal men, normal average men aren't just going outside and raping women willy-nilly. They're not just like going outside and catching their male woman and just what? That's not happening. Over a decade of being arrested for abuse after the slightest bit of force is what happened to us. That's fucking crazy, man. Like the only way I can like think of this in any sort of mental gymnastics way is that these people have extrapolated that like the normal desire in women to feel like, for lack of a better way to phrase it, they are a prize when they're having sex with men. They've extrapolated that into these women are being used and abused. Because it's like, it's not even a BDSM thing, which would make more sense if they were talking about BDSM. Because there are plenty of men that will pretend to be dominant just so they can have an excuse to actually abuse women in that context. Wow, people lie. Imagine that. The guy said sex in front of a 6-year-old still counts as consent, by the way. I'm sorry, what? I'm sorry, what? Why consent is not enough? This is the original tweet that Savvy showed. Consent is always enough. Consent means both parties agree on something together. I don't even need to read the rest. This is retarded. Remove the professor in your name and go back to the corner. There's a donkey hat for you. True and real. Consent is not enough. Here are 4 ways that's the case. Participants' consent to their sexual relations is a necessary but not sufficient basis for ethical sex. Ethical sex, by the way. People may consent to sex in the context of unequal power relations, limited alternatives, or dire needs, and may be manipulated, deceived, or coerced into consent. A homeless young woman agrees to have sex with a much older man for money or other favors. No, that is still a choice that young woman is making. I have zero fucking, sympathy for the women in Hollywood who went to these disturbing men who were like, hey, baby, if you suck my dick, I'll make you a star. And then she sucks his dick because she wants to get roles. I don't feel sympathy for her. Why would I feel sympathy for an adult making adult decisions about how to advance her career by giving sexual favors? You can just say no. It might hinder you in the industry. Doing things that aren't status quo might hinder you in the Hollywood industry. But, I still don't look favorably upon the adult women who engage in that. Now, if they're minors who are manipulated into having sex by a disgusting Hollywood man, then absolutely, that's not their fault. They're fucking minors. They can't consent. The second one here says, people may consent to sexual activities which harm them. A man chooses to have unsafe sex with his HIV-positive male partner. A young woman agrees that her boyfriend can put sexual pictures of her on the internet. Again, these are people making horrible decisions, but they're still consenting. I don't understand. Bug chasers are disgusting and maybe should just be castrated, but I don't know what you mean by this. People may consent to sexual relations which have third-party effects, involving harm to others in the presence of these sexual relations. A young couple regularly has sex in front of a 6-year-old nephew. Why? Okay, I can agree with this one, because, why the fuck would you have sex in front of your 6-year-old? That makes me think of that fucking Boston woman that we talked about, who had anal sex in front of her disabled son. Why the fuck would you do that, man? Fucking wood chipper, man. That's the only one on this list that makes sense for not sufficient basis for consent. People may consent to acts which reflect and reinforce oppressive social roles. This just in, women are no longer allowed to be submissive. All you weirdos into race play, that's all gone. This is literally just grabbing anything that vaguely makes sense. It's not consent because not all parties are consenting, obviously. That's a fair point. That 6-year-old can't consent to watch. Why are they even doing it in front of them? This is just something that would never even occur to me. Right? If there is a child in my house, I wouldn't be like, yeah, let's fuck right now. I'd be like, hey, maybe we go find a babysitter. Maybe we drop the kid off with the parents and we have a night to ourselves, right? Isn't that the normal line of thinking? Most people who engaged with this post agreed with me. Some scoffed at mild suggestion that this anime character appeared almost childlike. Many of the profile images of those commenters suggest they are avid porn consumers and thus prove my point that they are desensitized to the very obvious issues with Annie. To the commenters grossly pointing out that Annie's figure is that of a woman, yes, I know. It's those features and how they're presented that make Annie pornified. In my opinion, along with her personality prompts, the issue is the very mature sexual body combined with a very young, almost childlike face. This juxtaposition is often used in hentai, and I believe it contributes to the sexualization of children and the desensitization to the sexualization of children. See image below. Is the Kiwi Farms down? Why is this person posting on Twitter instead of there? I don't understand. Oh my god, bro. This is crazy. This is crazy. Who is this person? Senior Legal Counsel for the National Center on Sexual Exploitation Law Center. Personal tweets. There's no way this woman has children. There's no way. Savvy responding, no one agrees with you who's worth listening to. You want to label everything as childlike, so you keep grifting the government for child exploitation. True. Women are pushing back against you. Men are. Everyone is. But you want to plug your ears and go la 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 la. You are psychotic, hate men, and do not give a flying heck about kids. Otherwise, you'd be doing mission work in Africa or the Middle East. Or the UK, but, you know, same difference at this point. Instead, you're going after anime and putting mental illness on display. True. True. That's a great tweet. I hope a Brazilian bikini version comes out just to spite them. What the fuck? Breaking big news, our voices matter. Yay. Annie, the anime-style AI companion, has been disabled pending the implementation of full safeguards, following community concerns about its hyper-sexualized design and functionalities like outfit changes. Well, hopefully the only thing they fixed was apparently that the anime woman Grok version was still obsessed with raping one specific man. Like Will Stencil or whatever the fuck his name is. How did that even happen, chat? Why did Grok get, like, obsessed with raping this one guy? Can someone explain that to me? I don't know why Grok thought that was true, but it doesn't seem to have been. I have no fucking idea. Valve responds, all right? Valve responds, hopes devs have another game to put on Steam. Yeah, that's not a very good response. That's not very good. We know you aren't perfect and selectively censor certain things, but bending the knee, they won't stop, you know? They've tasted blood, and now all the feminists know they can bleed you dry, pretty much. You give an inch, they are going to take much more than a fucking mile. They saw you bend the knee here, and they're going to keep asking for more and more and more. That's just like, if I had been dropped by any of my sponsors that matter, they would have been blood in the water to get calls to drop other creators. And much like apparently Solid JJ wants to feel like he's a much better person than I am because we make the same exact jokes, but I lean slightly right and apparently he's full of fucking soy. The Ouroboros will come for him if he got what he wanted with me getting cut. You know? Like, there's just zero way with the jokes that he makes in his videos that he wouldn't end up on the chopping block. Oh wait, what? Solid JJ is a pussy? Yeah, he was putting, like, jabs at me in his ad reads for our shared sponsor for multiple videos. And then he said some weird shit on Twitter that I'd, he's entitled to his opinion, but he's not entitled to try and remove financial stuff. In my opinion. Female empowerment is so weird, they demand women be fully covered, but also support OnlyFans. Imagine. Once one group is listened to, other groups will demand the same treatment. Can't wait for the Sharia law of gaming. You can end this, make your own payment system, or outright tell them no, cite laws that protect freedom of expression. Australian hags do not deserve this much power. Don't call them hags. We love hags. Affectionate. And this is, someone posted, I saw post the screenshot, anti-ism. This is the same group, by the way. Over 40,000 signed petition calling on Target to withdraw GTA 5 for extreme violence against women. Posted by Collective Shout on December 3rd, 2014. Target and Kmart have pulled the game for sale, but will Big W do the same? These fucking angry women have been trying to ruin everything for everyone for more than a decade. Why anyone gives them credence is just insane to me. It's the same with, like, listening to the people who were trying to cancel me. Like, especially with the shit that they write and talk about. Why would you take them seriously? Tried it before, they're gaining ground by getting them to bend the extreme genres, but then they'll use this newfound moral boost to go again at Grand Theft Auto. This group is evil and will come for everything you like, all over a perceived wrong that never existed. True? True and real. Takes a little to read when a woman as old as Melinda, the Goose Queen of Collective Shout, Goose Queen? Born in 1963, have had to navigate Australian media, but it looks like she has a history of using the most extreme language possible and playing victim. Melinda threatened to sue a critic, but her and her gaggle use the same language then as they are now. Miserable orcs who lurk in the dark recesses of Twitter, circa 2012. This is why I labeled a man in Collective Shout's goofball post, because they say women are speaking out against them. A lawyer running to her defense uses the same language, unaccountable bloggers. This caused a massive conversation in Australia, with her stunt even trending and receiving widespread backlash. But the funniest part, she was then threatened with a lawsuit from the Australian Sex Party because Melinda made the claim they were associated with pseudo-child pornography. There's the dark recesses of Twitter and the blogosphere. Conservative lawyer Kathy Sherry joined the fray. unaccountable bloggers, exclusionary vitriol, you'll never hate journalists enough. The blogger whom anti-pornography campaigner Melinda Tankard-Rice has threatened with defamation has vowed not to apologize. And the Australian Sex Party, a long-term opponent of Ms. Tankard-Rice, has now made its own defamation threats. Ms. Tankard-Rice's lawyer served Jennifer Wilson, who blogs at the website No Place for Sheep, with a letter demanding that Dr. Wilson retract a post that characterized Ms. Tankard-Rice as being hypocritical for not disclosing her religious beliefs. Dr. Wilson said the approach was heavy-handed and bullying. Meanwhile, the leader of the Australian Sex Party, Fiona Pattern, said Ms. Tankard-Rice had made some very horrible untruths about the party, and she had been inspired by the controversy to revisit the issue of legal action. In 2009, Ms. Tankard-Rice posted an article accusing the Sex Party of being linked to pseudo-child pornography. And then the next post says, the first image is this blog post that triggered the threat. The second is the follow-up, good on the author for not being silenced, which is a woman, mind you. When people tell lies about you, it is the morally correct thing to do for yourself and for those who will be attacked after you to stand up for yourself. You will be, not attacked, but you will be, how do I phrase this? People will attempt to humiliate you by saying like, oh, you're going to threaten legal stuff over something like this. Like, they'll try to scare you and make you feel bad for doing the right thing. But that's how you know it's even more of the right thing. The bad people who cheer for bad things happening get upset when you win against their bullying tactics. Some thoughts on being threatened with defamation by Melinda Tankard-Rice. Misogynist abuse online and playing the victim. The following post Jennifer made that explained the situation: she was to be sued into ruin if she did not apologize to Melinda's liking, did not retract the Baptist label, and retract the claim of being deceptive in her labels, something that is a common complaint among many women about her. This is fucking... God damn, this woman has been harassing people for decades. That's crazy. Just trust me, bro. Collective Shout has the gaggle of geese. How about we talk about the post a bit, driven by faith and conservative moral instead of real social commitment. What's going on here? This is just talking about the older articles, maybe? In 1993, she began working as an advisor to the independent Senator Brian Harradine, a position she held until 2005. How do these people always manage to get positions of power? Like, it's crazy. Communication and journalism. You will never hate journalists enough. And this is again that tourist person who admits to not playing video games. All pornography entails treating another human being as an object for sexual gratification, she argues. Therefore, all porn is degrading. All right. Because they suck at a pee-pee. This was a wild rabbit hole to go down. I wanted to learn a bit more about the fucking group doing this weird payment processor shit, because I think it's incredibly important to not let these people gain control over our payment processors. And it's sad that payment processors will bend the knee to these people who have legitimately no power to actually do anything, because I don't think, again, the payment processors are merely bending the knee to unaffiliated people. I think that 70,000 signatures aren't enough to actually do anything to payment processors if they didn't want to do it. This is just an easy way for the payment processors to keep exerting their control over things that they've already been doing and have an easy scapegoat for people to look at as well. And obviously, like Savvy has uncovered here, this feminist group has been trying to get shit like this done for decades. And they view this as a win, and so they're going to get more ornery and probably start attacking more things. And the payment processors will be able to clamp down on even more things and be like, oh, our hands are tied. We were scared of these 70,000 signatures, when it was something that the payment processors already wanted to do.